The only way I would indirectly support a domestic spending program that technically I wouldn't create would be if I can cut enough money. Let's say we can cut $200 billion out of the military budget. That's not the defense budget. It's the military budget. And there's a big difference. You cut 200, put 100 against the deficit, and take another 100 and put it into the areas that are so dependent. So don't put anybody out in the street. This I think is palatable. People would understand this. At the same time, you know, if we had enough money saved from overseas, we could tide those who are retired and not capable of restoring a nest egg. They have been taught to be dependent on the system. What we could do then is and there are a few here that might just take me up on this offer, anybody who is young and energetic and that would like to get out of the system and not pay any Social Security tax and get out of the welfare system, just get out. And economically, this is feasible. Matter of fact, the opposite is impossible. There's no way it's going to work because the national debt, which is the only thing that really counts, is going up over $500 billion a year. I believe we are in the early stages of a recession. It is going to get worse. And like I said on the debates the other night, a lot of people are already in recession. And a lot of middle-class people feel a lot poorer. And a lot of people are working very hard to just keep up. It may be that the bureaucrats in Washington and the people on Wall Street and the bankers and the people in the military-industrial complex, or if you're in the medical-industrial complex, yes, they're all doing well because they get to use that counterfeit money first. But other people get it later, and they get the high cost of living. So we're beginning to see that. And if we don't change our way, what will happen, which has happened more times than you can count because it's been numerous times, the currency becomes destroyed when it has no backing to it and no substance to it, when it's just fiat money, when it's money created by politicians spending endlessly and they have no restraint. A destruction of a currency is very dangerous because no matter how many checks you write to the elderly, it won't work because the cost will go up much faster than the depreciation of the money. Other countries have experienced this. Mexico actually understands inflation a lot better than Americans do because they've gone through currency destruction. Of course, Germany and France and many of these other nations have experienced this. We've only experienced it once, and that was the continental dollar. And that's why the founders were so adamant. Don't do this. They advised us, stay out of entangling alliances, mind our own business, but also have this additional restraint by having only gold and silver as legal tender. And this, to me, is the only solution. There's no way that we're going to be able to finance this continuation. But we do have to change our foreign policy, and we have to adhere to the law. I think closely connected to this is the principle of national sovereignty. You know, when I was in high school, one of my teachers was redrafted. He had been in World War II. He was redrafted and sent to Korea, and he didn't come back. But we went into Korea not by a transfer of power from the Congress to the president. I mean, it was acknowledged that that's what they were doing. Taft spoke out against it. Fortunately, he spoke out against it. But we went in there under a UN resolution. I mean, that's how quickly after World War II that this country was willing to go back into a war and ignore our Constitution. You know, when we take an oath of office, when we join the military or go to Congress, we swear to uphold the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic. You know, there's no... There's no country in this world, if you added up all the military power of all the countries of the world, they can't attack us. They wouldn't attack us. If they did, they would be wiped off the earth in a minute. So this whole island in a couple of minutes, but they would be wiped. They would be wiped off the earth, and they wouldn't dare do it. But the greatest threat to us today, even though all we concentrate on is attacking nations that are third world nations, basically, that have no weapons whatsoever, and we say, we withstood the confrontation with the Soviets and the confrontation over Cuba. They had 40,000 nuclear warheads, and we won out on that. And yet today, we feel compelled because of our insecurity and this bulliness that we're expressing that we have to go over and attack these countries, that they might get a weapon someday. And the real tragedy there is that we now are a nation known to start the war. And this, we've been involved before, much more so than we ever should have been, when you think of how the CIA overthrew Mossadegh in '53 in Iran, and then we installed the Shah, and we've been involved way too much secretly. But this is so blatant, this preemptive war that, well, we better start this war because someday they might start a war with us. I mean, it's endless and open. It is such a dramatic change from what is truly American and truly constitutional. And that, I don't see how that's going to exist. No wonder we have less friends in the world today. And we have lost so much credibility. And the world knows we have secret prisons, but we don't torture. We have enhanced interrogation techniques. But no torture. But we don't even know where these prisons are. But we do know that under the law today, and the Congress has rubber stamped so much of this and said that the principle of habeas corpus is no longer sacred for our country, that we should honor this. So we have slipped. The danger is by far much greater internally than externally. The domestic threat is gigantic. And so we have a tremendous task before us and what we're going to do. But I can only tell you that in the short time that I have been traveling the nation these last 10 months, I have been pleasantly surprised and very pleased. Of course, I've been fighting this battle and arguing this case for a few years. And I always figured that there will always be 30 people out there that would show up and they would be interested. And they'd be around here and there, and the remnant was very small, and that young people, yes, they liked the internet, but all they liked were video games. And but lo and behold, the message is not delivered by the greatest orator, but is the greatest message ever. And it is fantastic. So the young people are spreading the message, and this is great. Foreign policy is one of the biggest issues, if not the biggest issue. But lo and behold, I always tie the foreign policy into monetary policy and tax policy. What is astounding to me is when we go to the rallies that they're so supportive at the college campuses when I talk about the Federal Reserve, and that really amazes me. But the other day, somebody noticed, and I think they made a comment on the internet today. They said when we went to the University of Michigan after the debates, we had, I think it was our largest rally, over 2,000 students came out. And when I started talking about the Federal Reserve, somebody took out a couple of Federal Reserve notes and they started burning their money. But it's been somewhat traditional now, is more so than it used to be, that people will come up and, you know, they'll get my signature for what reason, I don't know. But they'll come up and they'll ask me, they'll have me sign a Federal Reserve note. And I said, okay, I said, if I sign this, is the value going to go up or go down? They tell me it's going to go up. I said, well, if it's going to go up, I guess I'll sign. But no, it's exciting what's happening. The young people are responding very, very favorably to the message. And I promise them nothing except freedom and no freebies. That means responsibility for oneself, self-reliance, but, you know, our right to our life, our right to our liberty, our right to pursue happiness, and our right to keep what we earn, and right to keep our fruits of our labor. And as I go about, and the young people do not seem to be turned off with this, nor others, when I say, you know, I'm not running for this office because of the things I want to do. I'm running for this office because I don't want to run your life. I don't want to because I don't know what you want. and I don't have the authority to do, and I don't have the authority under the Constitution. So what you do with your mind, your body, your religion, and what you take into your body or into your souls, that's your business. Just don't hurt anybody else.